Hello everyone, I'm Colin Kinnett. Today I've got lots of cool little tricks to show you, and for those of you who haven't subscribed yet, I invite you to do that. And let's look at our first measuring hack. Here's a really cool way of making accurate circles and using your square to make them. Now you need to clamp your worksheet down, your workpiece down, so that it doesn't move around. And what you're going to do is put a couple of nails in, and I'm also using this magnet with a little handle on. It's actually a fridge magnet, a very powerful one, but it sticks really nice to my square, so it gives me a place to hold it. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to make a circle that is, let's say 4.5 inches right there. And what you do, basically, you need to make sure that the square is always on the nails, and that's where you need to have a little bit of pressure. So you're going to be doing that, and you'll do it on both sides, of course, but let's go ahead and do this. And the pencil always needs to be in the very center here of the square. Oops. Catching on the wood there. There we go. We'll do the other side. You can see that circle there? I'll flip it up in a second here. Let's do the other side here. That's just amazing. Look at that. Perfect circle. And using a square to do it. There are lots and lots of different marking things that you can get for wood. And depending on whether you've got a light wood or a dark colored wood, you have many, many options. What I like to do sometimes so that I don't actually mark the wood is I will use, for example, something like this wide tape, and I'll put that on there. It sticks very nicely, and now you can draw a line, you can make a mark, whatever it is you want to do. When you're all done with your cut or whatever it is you're doing, you can just peel it off, and then you don't have to worry about erasing it or sanding it off. It's done. But marking hardwoods, or dark woods rather, they're the hardest because finding something to write on them. This is just a pencil crayon, and it does an okay job. You have to look really hard to see it, but it does a fairly fine line. There's also something called a China marker. You can see it does a very nice job. The problem is it does a fairly wide line, so it's not ideal if you're doing real tight lines or mortise and tenons. But you know what? If you are doing mortise and tenons, you can get these what they call marking knives. And watch this. You know, even though it's as fine a line as that, see how easy that is? Even on video, you can see that line very clearly. But you know, if you don't have one of these, you can just use a utility knife. They do a very good job. You just have to make sure that, because the blade is so wide with these, that the blade doesn't wander off and make a little bit of a wide cut on you, but they will do just as good a job. And I use felt pens from time to time. You'd be surprised how good a felt pen will work on something, and it draws your attention to it. And I even have one of these, sort of a metallic silver, and it works on some things. You can see how well it, you know, whatever it is you're working on, how it stands out. So lots of different options, and you can get with these felt pens, of course, you can get very, very fine lines. You can see how fine that line is there, or maybe you can't see how fine it is, but very, very fine line. So I have all sorts of different pens and pencils and marking systems, and it just depends what I'm doing. And there's a look at my pencil carrier, and there's a look at my marker carrier. So I've got lots of different things to choose from. Here's another place that I use this wide tape. I find it really handy. Often when I'm out of the shop, I know I'm going to need some numbers to jot down, and sometimes it's a series of things. So I can write right on there whatever it is that I want, dimensions, etc. And when I come back to the workshop, I don't need to use these right away. With the tape, I can take this off, put it on the project that this is associated with, and carry on doing whatever I need to do, and maybe even do another one. You could do a series of these. So just a quick way of doing a memo to yourself and having it replaceable to the project. This is just construction grade plywood, and I use it from time to time for a variety of reasons. One of the problems that I find with it is when I'm trying to mark it, it's very hard to see the lines. So what I did with mine, look at this, I just drilled a hole in the back of it. It doesn't affect anything, but look at this, because these are reversible, now I can make a line exactly where I want. Look at that. See how quick and easy that is? That's a super quick way of marking plywood. And while we're still talking about marking, I have a tri-square. I don't use these very often. Some of them come with a little notch out here. This one doesn't, but what I've done, which is even better, I've marked a little hole. You can just barely see that hole at the 1 inch mark. So if I want to mark a line, for example, that's 4 inches long, I just set it at the 5 inch mark, and check this out. I can put a line right, or a pencil right in the middle of that, and then it doesn't move around because it's a very tiny hole. And now I can make a perfect line and measure it ahead of time so that I know exactly where that line is going to be. Great quick way of making another kind of marking gauge, but with a measuring device on, in this case, a ruler. Well, there's a few quick tips that I use around my shop. Maybe there's something there that'll give you some ideas and help you out in your shop. I'm Colin Canet for Woodwork Web. Thanks for watching.